you are. Good riddance. Is you kidding? Bid the forbidden. As it was written, you overbidding. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, unforgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlins. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good, good looking. Stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, spades I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era up, a glance in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind, I'm chosen. Reverse the time, heart frozen. Antarctica, cold as ice. Casting locks, rolling dice. Mean as nails, I'm nothing nice. They persecuted me like they rejected Christ. Hey, show who you are. Good riddance. Is you kidding? All right. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have a good show for you. We have Michael Everette about to grace us to the stage with his transliteration of history. I want you guys to delve deep, get your notepads out, take notes, because it's about to be some real knowledge coming forth here. So y'all ready? I hope y'all ready. Okay, Mr. Everette, can you give us a little background about yourself and tell us who you are?
First and foremost, my name is Michael Everette. You know what I'm saying? I live down here in Birmingham, Alabama, you know what I'm saying, holding the folding chairs. So I first and foremost, I got started on this path some years ago. Actually, I grew up in the church, Southern Baptist home, and things just didn't always fit right for me when I was in there. So, you know, I started out on this journey, you know what I'm saying, for me, it was like more to prove the existence of God. And the more I studied, you know what I'm saying, about human culture and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, the more my eyes came open to, you know, how the world actually functions. You know, you just have so much, you know, so much diversity. And, you know, we just really tend to fight amongst each other over some insignificant talking points and things like that. So, so when I started to, you know, get into it is when I started to, you know, accept people more for who they are. And that's when I started to, you know, get on this path of transliteration, of trying to go back into history to understand what these people were talking about, you know, in that period of time. Let's see, you know, one of the things I always wanted to tell people about, and because I always, when I get to this point, they was like, oh, well, what do you believe? You know, if you're not part of the church, or are you an atheist, or you know, this, or that? And I'm like, when it comes to reality, we all have a source.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, you know, listen to these people's stories, try to understand where they're coming from, so you can gain an understanding of what human culture really is. And so that's why I got into transliteration.
Okay, for the unknowing and those that don't know any better, excuse me, can you explain to us what transliteration is?
All right, so what transliteration is basically a more adapt version of translating. It's when you actually take a look into the cultural understanding of what these people are saying. You're trying to define their principles, you know what I'm saying, and then you're going to take it and you're going to adapt it to your culture. So when we look back into history, there's just a lot of points for Christianity, for example. when we look at today's Christians over here in America, we have a lot of different denominations.
Right.
So, and a lot of times they really don't respect each other. They don't accept each other. They just, Jehovah Witnesses and Southern Baptists do not get along whatsoever. So they really don't understand that they really have the same principles, but they've gotten so far along to what they, consider to be the truth today, that they just separate themselves from the actual body of the church. And it's just a process that keeps going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, that's why, studying stuff like linguistics, transliteration, so you can really understand, where these people were coming from back then. So it's I say, it's a lot of divisiveness today, and just people just, buck heads, they just don't want to get along when it comes to similar topic and the common ground.
Right. So let me just go over the definition of transliteration real quick, and then we're gonna get into it. Okay. So it's an intro to I'm sorry. The definition of transliteration is the act or process of writing words using different alphabet. Their texts aim to produce a phonetic transliteration of the dialect using the main languages of the day. Transliteration helps people speak a language by showing the pronunciation in the language they understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep. Okay. So, let me get this right because I'm a little confused. So it's about uh pronunciation, the phonetic, because you know how they say the J wasn't invented yet, but I this is my own opinion. I think the letter J wasn't the representation of the phonetic sound that J makes. I
Correct.
that the sound what existed. However, the letter I was the representation of that sound. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mhm. And say, for example, most recently, the movie Django.
Mm.
When you actually look into some of the Afrocentric languages, they don't pronounce, certain words the same way we do. Because you can see D in front of the J, and you actually think that you're supposed to pronounce the D because, this is where we come from in far as the English language and how we pronounce things in the phonic representation. But they have a different type of representing their own language.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. You have to pay attention to these people's cultural differences and really just listen to their stories so you can gain an understanding of how you can translate it into your own language. And so I
Right.
said, when it comes to that period of time, they did not use the word J because most of all, they did not use the Phoenician alphabet. So, there was no J in the Phoenician alphabet. There was no A in the Phoenician alphabet. It was a different dialect altogether.
Right,
So
but
that's why
but do you think the phonetic sound that the J makes like job, or do you think
it's
that
actually very similar to the same pronunciation that we use in Spanish.
mm,
Because you can see someone who's named Jesus, who's Spanish, and you're not going to actually say that their name is Jesus, are you?
they'll say Jesus?
Exactly. And so when it comes translates back into some of the Aramaic tongues, it's not Jesus, it's Yeshua, and which
Yeshua.
translates into Joshua, and
Mm-hmm,
then that's where the English interpretation goes into Jesus.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's what I said. And when you dig deep into it, you can really find the truth of it. So people are like, oh, well, the letter J didn't exist. It's fake. It's fake. No, they just That's what the transliteration means
Mm-hmm.
into the Latin tongue and into the Old English tongue.
Mm. I was gonna do a show on Old English, right? And then because what I thought that I was reading was Old English, but it's not. It's Middle English,
Yes. Are you
right?
talking? I'm guessing you're talking about the King James Bible, the 1611. That-
That and different other like manuscripts, is Middle English. William Shakespeare wrote in Middle English. Um, Different people wrote in different, Middle English. It's different collection of
because
books.
one of the oldest English with the oldest old English translations would have been, I think it was made around 1300s.
Mm, mm,
And so, that's actually the old English, the true old English
mm,
language. And when you actually look into how some of those books were put together, they were actually derived from Latin. So it's not a true old English or a true English, representation, because that was transliterated from the Latin dialect.
Wait, which one now? What was
It's
transliterated from Latin?
the yeah, the old Middle English translations, it
Mm,
actually goes back into Latin tongue, because they
mm,
had to translate, because they actually got those books from the church in Rome.
mm.
So they had to translate that, into their actual English tongue. And today most people don't even realize that the English language is not, you know, really English. It's a Germanic tongue and it's mixed with Latin.
Interesting.
So yeah,
Let's.
most of us think that we're speaking, this proper language, but it's actually, a Germanic tongue is about 3,000 years old.
Well, I know that a lot of English words. You said you're right. It's mixed with Latin. Oh, Germanic. It's Germanic, but I also think that it's Germanic and mixed with Latin. I'm sorry.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So I see it a lot, especially when we share similarities in certain Latin words. You know what I'm saying? Um, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, we
Let's.
actually borrow a lot of, and then today, most of our language that we use today is actually borrowed from other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of just trying to, translate it or transliterate it, we say, hey, you know what? We don't have this thing over here on this side of the world, so we're just going to go with your definition and your pronunciation of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Right.
that's where a
Right.
lot of our tongues end up coming from, the Latin language, which, is also derived from Pig Latin. And, it just goes back and back and back. And then, of course, when you have, instances like King Alexander the Thief, I'm saying, the march across the world, stealing books from everybody else, it just ends up just compounding on top of each other. So pretty much today, the English language is just a mud language for the world.
Right, right, because we're like the melting pot.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we start taking on different dialects, and for whatever reason, right? Because okay, so I understand that because I see that you're gonna talk about the Bible in a minute, right? And I
Well, I just
understand.
wanted to get to a common reference, so that's why I picked the Bible today. So
Okay,
it's
because you have the King James Version Bible that's missing some books. Then you have, so you also have the King James, the 1611 King James Version Bible. Then you have the Vulgate Bible. That's a Catholic Bible that the
and that
Roman,
was one of the original Latin translations that came
right,
from the Catholic Church.
yeah, from Saint Jerome. And then you have the Vulgate Bible, you have the Geneva Bible. It's so many Bibles. Let me just pull up a timeline of these.
Ooh, so that goes deep. That goes deep.
Mhm.
So that timeline actually
Well,
goes very deep. Yeah.
yeah, it goes deep. So I know about the Geneva Bible. Let me see if we can pull this up. Uh That's not it. Hold on. Because then you have the Tanakh. You have the Tanakh, which is Hebraic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Septuagint, which is Latin. Is that right? Or Greek? The
Agree.
Septuagint is Greek. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was supposed. Yeah, it was supposed to be like a more of a broken Greek and English. I mean, not English, but Egyptian Coptic translation for the Jewish or Hebrew population that was actually living in Egypt at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, some of them were just separated from their homeland or they just, decided to move there for whatever reason. And they wanted an accurate representation of their culture. And so they were able to get that translated from the some of the original Hebrew texts into that language during that time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So let's start from how far back do we go, bro?
I told you.
Okay.
It goes deep.
So, oh, I forgot about that one because I always talk about William Tyndale. Okay, so then you have the Cloverdale. I forgot about the Cloverdale. And so it's the Cloverdale, then it's the Tyndale, then it's the Geneva after that. Okay, I see now.
Yeah, see,
But
like actually here what the oldest English represent or modern English representation of the Bible
mm-hmm.
is actually called the Living Oracles translation, which was translated back in 1826.
Mm-hmm.
And that only contained the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's it. You have so many different translations where, of course, you have people that, I say Christians, for example, during certain points of time, they did not want to accept or acknowledge the Old Testament translation anymore. And so instead of even today here in America, you can find copies of that where you have the New Testament translation, and you might have the Book of Psalms and the Book of Proverbs, saying added on to that. But
Mm-hmm.
everything else from the Old Testament is actually left out.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, for them, the point that they want to convey and get across is, the message of Jesus and
Mm-hmm.
salvation.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to them, and sometimes when they want to translate stuff, they have no problem leaving out some of the Old Testament texts because that's their main talking point, was just trying to get to that.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm trying to get this graph up. If I can make it bigger, oh gosh. Because it seemed like they skipped the 16, the one I was showing you. It looked like they skipped the 1611. Let me bring it back down. So hold on. Trying to make it bigger. Let me see. Yeah, it's very interesting because you do have lots of translations, but I did do a Western history paper on this, so I'm kind of familiar with some of the translations. Um, let's see. This is like a little graph here of the different translations. So see, okay, so we're gonna start with ASV. Where's that on this chart here? ASV. I don't even see that one because it's thing.
And see how you go from one end where it talks about the word for word formal equivalent or the
Mm-hmm.
literal translations, and then
Mm-hmm.
on the far right end you start dealing with paraphrasing.
And then you have thought for thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I said that's where transliteration comes in. And it's not necessarily saying that everything to the far right is just, pseudo and fake. What it is, I say, it's
I
just
can even
what they
show.
call a modern adaptation. And of course, you got the John Smiths of the world, what I'm saying, that just came up with their own thing, Jehovah's Witnesses and you just have so many people that branched off into different versions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said that's why it's so important that you take the time to look at what you're actually the text of what you're reading today, because sometimes there are actually some more modern day translations that it's been recently back in what 2020,
Mm-hmm.
which was one of the last translations. What was the name of that one? See, you have it here. Oh, 2021, which is the Legacy Standard Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the newest addition to the English, translations, which contains mostly Masonic texts and stuff like that.
Right.
That's actually
See.
that's actually geared towards the evangelical, crowd and the Protestant.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, it can be real confusing when you're not actually saying digging deep down into there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not difficult at the same time. Say that's why I wanted to say go over these talking points and just try to give people an introductory of how to go backwards and how to
Mm-hmm.
do it correctly.
Right. 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 Okay. So let's see what we got on here. So we got the source translation is translating, restatement, restating, reiteration, summary, rewording, recapitulation, recap, paraphrasing, rephrasing, rehash, and abstract. So we got on that one on the paraphrases, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are about 900 printed English translations and paraphrases of the Bible. Okay.
Actually, more than 3,000. As far as variations across the world, there's actually more than 3,000 variations of the Bible.
Right.
So that's a lot.
It's definitely a lot. So in my opinion, I like to but see sometimes it depends on the history of it, because like with the Vulgate Bible, there was a lot of things left out, and when it was that's when the Tyndale Bible came about. Uh and then it went to the Geneva Bible to the 1611. So, with the Tyndale Bible, I know that he translated it from the Hebraic text and the Septuagint from the Greek text, and he was the first one to do that. And the Vulgate uh, was like a lot of pieces missing. Like they took out a lot of things. And so William Tyndale ended up being crucified for doing that, for translating it word for word out of the Greek in the Septuagint text.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's go back to your thing. Do you think that the Bible is a type of forgery or something like that?
It's a copy of a copy.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's pretty much the versions that we read today are copies of copies on top of copies, and it's just been translated so many times and saying paraphrase and stuff like that. That's what's it's really important for you to take a look at the version that you're using today
Mm-hmm.
and try to understand that there are different variants and stuff like that when it comes to using the text or reading the text. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it. There are just so many different variations, like the Lutheran and the Protestants and the evangelicals. Like, even though you can read the text and it seems so similar, there's some, saying cultural differences, and there are differences in their ideology. That's the reason why they have a different denomination today.
Mm-hmm. And they be like little small differences, like you know how the do you are you familiar with the Israelites?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Are you familiar with the argument about who Esau is?
Oh my god, man. I ran into some crazies that um I've talked to some people that honestly believe that some dark skinned brothers, they believe that at once upon a time their ancestors shared the womb with this, red skinned hairy man.
Mhm.
And it's just unbelievable. And it's like, do you really understand what you're saying?
So you don't think it's possible?
If we're talking about albinoism,
Albinism, yeah.
yeah, then yes, that's possible. But you're talking about two different races. No, that's not how it happens. Someone who comes from a mixed family, that's just not how it happens.
Okay.
You're not going to get a white baby and a black baby. Excuse my references, but that's just not how it happens. Genetics does not work that way.
So you never seen black people have white babies?
I say when you talk about albinoism, yes.
Mm.
When you're talking about the pigmentation of the, saying the individual skin, yes. But that does not change the individual's genetic structure when it comes to ethnicity, because that same child will grow up, and when they have a child, guess what? The chance of them not being albino is very high. And guess what they're going to look like? Their
Mm.
grandparents.
Mm.
So I said, you're just not going to spawn a mutant race, as someone like trying to, oh, we're their parents, they came from us. Oh, can y'all please stop with that? Y'all make
So
us seem like one of
Esau
the most
is
irresponsible.
Esau is not the white man, correct?
Um, I'm not gonna go into all that because like I said, there are people that have their cultural differences when it comes to that. Semitic is a mixed culture, and we have to really come to understand and accept that
Oh
there
yeah,
is.
Shemitic, yeah, is very mixed.
So let's say we can't get to the point where we try to step on somebody else's history, what I'm saying, because just because of beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And your story is your story. If you trace your family's lineage back to this point in time, fantastic. But that does not discredit anyone else doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said we just have to learn how to really just take time to listen to what these people have to say and listen to their story,
Mm-hmm.
and don't be so quick to discredit somebody. Because yeah, I've met some people that were able to prove that they have a lineage that goes all the way back to that area.
Mm-hmm.
They taken genetic tests and they come up with genetic qualifiers that say, hey, yeah, your ancestors did live in this area at one point in time, and it was around this period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and that was after saying Moses took the Israelites across. And so it's like, hey, if you're right, you're right. But
Right.
that does not mean that anyone else cannot be, because it says that you had 12 tribes. You had
Mm-hmm.
12 nations. So you cannot say that all 12 people, all 12 nations resembled you. It's kind of like going to Africa and telling a Nigerian that, saying they're the exact same as a South African, you're gonna start a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So say you have to respect the individual's cultural differences, and you pretty much just have to accept what they're telling you when it comes to their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
If they can prove it, they can prove it. If they can't, and you don't want to believe it, you don't want to accept it, all right, move on. But like I say, sometimes we can be a little bit brutal, and I've done that a lot myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that a lot myself. I do tend to beat up on some of the more culturally ignorant, because they tend to use those references and they take them way out of context, and it's just no bringing them down to earth. Like I said, that talking to the one guy, and he was telling me that you know Africans and Caucasians shared the same womb, and we somehow somebody came out to be the mutant. And I was like, well, who was the mother then? Where did that ethnic diversity come in? So how'd you get that split, and then you just black people no longer have white babies now.
Mm-hmm.
White people no longer have black babies now. I've never seen, a white person actually, come out with this same problem. So is that what you're really saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you going to call us mutants? Are you going to call them mutants? Or can we just be ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
I said
Right.
we sometimes we just take a little bit too far, and we just just bash each other over the head when it comes to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I said I've been guilty of it myself.
Right. 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 I don't know if I want to share this. I was just gonna go over the family tree here, but we're not gonna get too. Are we getting biblical? I'm not even sure.
Oh no. We won't have to go into all that. Well, I just chose to use the Bible because for one, over here, and not just really over here, but all around the world, a large amount of people have, accepted the Abrahamic culture and stuff like that, but they don't know anything about it. Um, I can
Right.
talk to somebody and they be like, "Oh, I'm a Hebrew." Excuse me, sir. You're a what? You're a
Right.
crossover?
Right. Well, let's just go over this real quick because people don't understand, and I don't like. I identify as an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. But Hebrew has is a large umbrella, right? Um, if you because Hebrew came under Eber,
Mhm.
and so you got Noah, and Noah. I'm trying to do Noah's right now. Has Shem, Ham, and Japheth. There's a lots of people that go under Shem, Ham, and Japheth, right? Lots of different. You see how I say the? I don't know if you can see this too much because it's really small.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
You got the Persians under Shem. You got the Assyrians under Shem. You got the Chaldeans under Shem. I can't read that one. And then Eber comes under Shem. Eber comes under Shem. And then because and then after that you have all these other regions. Nahar, we going to Nahar and forward. Then that's when you get to Abraham's Nahar, and then they had Terah, and then you get to Abraham. But look how many nations, y'all, is under Hebrew. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way till you get to Abraham. Not even Abraham, because Abraham was a Hebrew. All the way until you get to Jacob. You have that's all Hebrew.
Yep.
That's all
Actually,
Hebrew.
it's their cultural breakdown of their beginning. I say that's when I come to conversation with people. They be like, "Oh, such and such doesn't exist. Such and such doesn't exist." And right? We don't necessarily have proof, physical evidence of some of these individuals. Saying existing. Um, but I'm saying I'm a I love reading books.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my things is you have to stay within context of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Once you begin to change the context of the story, then it just goes out of hand. So
But
that's why
let
you
me
got
ask you
John. Yeah.
this. Let me
Hmm?
ask you this. Like all those people that got cremated and stuff like that, how would you find them? How would you prove their existence?
Exactly. Say that there are a number of reasons why you can't really find somebody, saying after death, especially when you're talking about the further back you go in human history, the harsher the environment was and the harsher the circumstances we had to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I start talking to people about evolution and stuff like that, where's the bodies? And I'm like, okay, well, if you're talking about living alongside dinosaurs, you're talking about living alongside large predators. Before we even had the ability, or the knowledge to make tools, we were probably just throwing rocks at them, say while we at the trees. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's just like, even if we did live alongside with them, we more than likely got eaten. You know, before death, before we died, we probably got snatched up by one, or after we died, we probably got, snatched up by one because they were scavengers. So when it comes to stuff like that, just let the people tell their story, try to get an understanding of where they're coming from so you can gain more of an understanding of where you're going to go with.
Right. So have you heard about that war in Israel?
Actually, it has popped up on my news feed early today. It was something about an attack, so I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really get the chance to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that happened? I think they were saying something about some kids they got attacked.
Um, uh, uh, I got some calls about it, but biblically speaking, I already knew what was gonna happen. So a lot of biblical scholars they kind of like read what's gonna happen. It just already tell you what's already predetermined. So we not even surprised. You feel what I'm saying? Because Israel will always be under war until its rightful people really go there, and it's been under attack forever, even since they put uh since they established it as Israel in the 1960s. So yeah, they Palestine is trying to so Israel has declared war on the Palestinian militant group. Okay. Let me share it.
You said Israel declared. Okay, let me go back.
Hmm. So Israel is at war. I want to make this smaller, please. Israel is at war with Hamas. Here's what you need to know. Let me play the video. This is CNN though, but I don't really want to play the video. But let's see. I'm just gonna turn the video down, the audio off, if it allows me to play it. It's look like it's taking too long.
I have to
Delete
catch up on
some.
some details on that one.
Oh my God, what is going on? It's too much. It's buffering and all this. I'm not signing up to you.
They love getting you with that spam.
Oh look, it's I'm just gonna have to close that window because baby, it's doing a number. Fuck them. Fuck you, CNN, trying to mess up my computer. Hello? Are we
Okay,
still
I see
talking?
something here about it. Well, who wants the
Mm.
rockets on them?
So basically Israel has declared war on Palestine because Palestine is uh considered the rightful owners of Israel. You know, and I wanted to share something, but I can't even. Well, yeah, I can share. Give me 1 second. Um, so basically, the people that's inhabited Israel came from Poland. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And so Palestinians want the land back, and it's been some back and forth fire exchanged. So it's a war. Yeah, it's crazy, but a lot of Israelites or whatever kind of know what's going on. So let's go back to your definitions here. Let me get to
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know all that was going on. This is on day 5.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been going on. So let's see here. So now let's go forward. We went through the Bible stuff. What? Oh, so did you want to talk about what we already talked about the transliterations in the Bible, or do you want to go over that?
Well, actually, I want to try to give people some sources. Well, not necessarily some sources, but tips
Mhm.
really on trying to go back, especially when it comes to the the Christians. All right,
Oh, the
so
Hebrew Christians. Okay, let
yeah,
me go
yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah. All right, so I have these two sources right here. All
Mhm.
right, can you see those?
Um, Wait a minute. I see one. Wait a minute. Let me highlight you real quick, so we can see. See, give me a second. Jewish New Testament. Okay, what's the other one? Complete Jewish Bible. Is this like the Talmud? The Talmud? You heard of that?
Um, it's a it's an English explanation, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And here's one, what I'm saying, another one that my mom actually shared with me. I was actually trying to look this up online, and it doesn't appear to be, because when I was looking on the list, I did not find this one on the list.
What's it called?
Um, it's a New World Translation of Holy Scriptures.
Oh yeah. Okay, I don't deal with that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that book right there is like people leaning into their own understanding,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and
This
that's
is
why
this
you
is
say,
actually a Jehovah Witness translation.
yeah, Jehovah Witness
Watchtower.
believed in the 1960s when those same Israel people took over Israel. That that's what happened. Hell came raining down, or I don't know. They might be onto something. They might be onto something. But let me show my Bible. Hold on.
All
Give me
right.
one second.
So this one here, I just want to show you one more. This one here is actually it just shows you that, it just says Holy Bible, right?
Mm.
So at first glance, you're not really going to notice what
I
type.
got that Bible. I got that Bible too.
Yes. As you see, as soon as you open up, you go into the Hebrew text, and it helps
Mhm.
you break down as you're going through, you know, what some of the readings are. And this is actually one of the older Hebrew to English translations.
Mhm.
They actually skipped straight over the Latin and all that, and they
Mhm.
just went, back to Hebrew, and they took that, from the ancient terminology and translated into a modern text. So that's actually a very good source material for individuals that want to, actually try to start learning to speak Hebrew and Yiddish and stuff like that. Just get more involved in what you, want to study.
Well, when you say Yiddish, right? Yiddish is a mixture of language too, right?
Yes,
Because Yiddish is
Yiddish
Arabic
is what they speak
and
mainly
Hebrew,
today.
right?
Hmm.
Yiddish is Arabic and Hebrew.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean not Hebrew. It's Arabic. Yeah, it's
Yes.
Arabic and Hebrew, right? Okay. Um, this is my Bible. Can you see it? Got my
What is
name in
that?
it. Can you see?
Hmm. Oh, the 1611, the Mid
Yeah,
English,
huh?
the Mid English.
Yes, mid English. I just want
Let's
to
see.
show the table of contents real quick.
Mhm.
Let's see. Okay. It's a big, big book. Can y'all see that?
Uh, pull your screen up a little bit more, like,
Oh, let me
yeah, blow
sew up my
yourself
screen.
up. Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you know what? I might need to get one of those. I need something with that has a complete reference to the apocrypha text.
Look at the excuse me, hold on. Look at the can you see it? Because I'm trying to see it and show y'all at the same time so I can read. Wait, okay. Look, okay, so you see how I say the books of the New Testament and the S look like a F?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I can find another one. Okay, you see the top right there? It say Yahshua, Ushus. I can't even see what it say. Isaiah. That's Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you see how the lettering is? Let me see if I can find something where the lettering look different. Okay. You see, okay, you see where it say Moses. That's Moses. Uh his signs. Moses his signs or something like that. I think that's what it says. It looked like an F, right?
Yeah. Is it Mophis? They said. It look like they said
No, it's
Mophis.
not Moses. This is Exodus. This is the book of Exodus. See, it's Moses, but it looked like Moses. It says Moses and Median, the book of Exodus.
Mm.
You see how that F look like an S?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never noticed that before in that text.
Mm-hmm. And then look right here. At the top, right here at the end, it says the bush burning, but it looked like an S. But it says the bush burning all the way to the other side.
Wow. I wonder why did they do that?
Mm-hmm. And so that's Middle English. That's middle English. I'm trying to find one, but this is where you was talking about the phonetic and okay, here go another one. Now this gonna trick you out. You see up there, it says diver's law, but it looked like a U, right?
Yeah.
But that's diver's laws. That's what the phonetic representation of the U, I mean of the V was a U. You get what I'm saying?
That is really interesting. I've actually never noticed that when it came to that text.
And right here, I'm sorry, that says the Jews of joy, Easter. Hammond's 10 sons. That's what that says. Hammond 10 sons, not funds or nothing. Okay, I'm trying to make it angle right. There
I
you
have
go.
to look that up and see why was the character so different in that. I've never noticed the different characterization in Middle English like that.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, let's move on. I was just showing what you were saying about the phonetics and everything and how the representations were. How's this laying out going? Okay, there you go. I think this is it. Okay, let's go back to your so we went through okay, so you ready for see here. Okay, the Talmud. Okay, we didn't do that one yet.
And so yeah, we covered the some of the different translations in the Bible.
Hmm.
Okay, Romanize is one of the things that I wanted to cover too.
Hmm.
I said that it actually goes back into the Septuagint and stuff like that. That's pretty much a lot what's happened when it comes to the English translation today. And the reason why it's so prominent is because I said the English language is, derived from that Latin language.
Right.
So, when they started translating some of the Jewish texts, uh, from Hebrew, it just really it made it such a huge cultural adaptation. And so I said, a lot of people really don't understand that there's a huge difference. Like just like you were showing in that 1611 Bible, there's a huge difference in some of these characterizations as we go through our time. And say the world doesn't speak, Pig Latin anymore, and there's like all different variations, and mainly Latin is not even saying used in those areas anymore, but they still just read those texts and they understand saying how to translate it. But like the closest representation to Latin would actually be Spanish. That's why I say you actually see a lot of people who have the name we would pronounce it Jesus, but they pronounce it Jesus. So there are a lot of cultural differences that took place when they Romanized some of those words from the original text. And I said that's why it's also so important for us as individuals to take time to get these reference points and to dig back so we can go beyond what some of these mistakes that were made back in saying those different time periods, or how they just change whatever they want to change because it just sounded so much similar to what they wanted it to be. So when we look at Romanized words, where let's see here, I say in Roman the character spirit of law, to make something Roman Catholic, to respell something in the Roman alphabet, to follow or be influenced by Roman customs, to write or print something in Latin alphabet, to change the writing of a system into a Roman script. And I'm pretty sure some of y'all have had these conversations with individuals in your groups where somebody tell you that Emperor Constantine, how he organized the creation of what we call today as the Bible, or the English Bible. And that's very true. Some people get upset about that, and it's like, hey, when they came after they translated in Egypt, it was only partial, translation, and it was not a beneficial translation for the Roman culture itself. Mm-hmm. So they took that and then they took it a step further and they started to Romanize everything. And so that's how it turned from, originally it was not Christianity. The Catholic Church came before the Orthodox Christianity that that most people have, gone into and accept today. Mm-hmm. So when you go back and you look at some of those differences, and you can really point out, just like you were doing with the script, that there are just some little small details that if you're really not paying attention to, it can really throw you off. All right. Mm-hmm. So you see when it comes down to the Greek Septuagint, they said that was the original translation from Hebrew into the Greek tongue or Greek language, which would have been an old Latin language back then. But I said it was meant for the Jewish population that lived in Egypt at that time. So those people were actually speaking a Coptic language. See what I'm saying? So that's why it was not a full translation into the Latin tongue. And then they turned around after that and they started to, get the people over in Rome and, saying the rest of Europe, a Europeanized version. And that's when, Constantine decided that, he was going to make the little blue-eyed, long-haired guy, Jesus. But, we know they don't live over there in that area. Sorry,
Mhm.
people. You know what I'm saying? They like telling stories about what Esau looked like. I don't remember anybody saying that he had blue eyes and long hair.
Mm-mm.
So, they can keep that one. So I say that's why it's really important that we take the time to go backwards in history and say if we can really do this ourselves.
Right.
There are multiple references that and tools that we can use today, online tools that just make it really easy for us to, saying go back and get the original interpretation. And we can do it a lot better than what, saying some of these people did that were actually scholars at that time. So say it's no reason for us to feel like we're being left out or we just don't have that, that drive or that knowledge to be able to translate stuff because we really do. And so if we can get into it and understand how the difference between translation and transliteration,
Mhm.
we can do this our own. So,
Mhm. I wanted to because you had said something about Constantine.
mhm.
Hold on, let me see if I can bring this up.
And Constantine was one of the first emperors of Rome around the where around their modernization time period.
Yeah, Constantine was one of the most important rulers in history. Constantine the Great was a Roman emperor from 306 to 377 AD. I think it's important that people know about this, you know. Um, he was also known as Constantine I or Saint Constantine in the Orthodox Church as Saint Constantine the Great, Paulistic equivalent. As an emperor, Constantine carried out many reforms in the administrative, financial, social, and military fields. Okay, but let's be clear, Constantine. I think you want to get on this part because he was part of the Byzantine Empire, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so he's basically I'm paraphrasing this. Let me just read. I'm going to the second paragraph right now. Besides this figure is the first Roman emperor to embrace Christianity. So Constantine was the first Roman emperor to embrace Christianity. By converting to that religion and various means of development, it took Constantine the Great play. I mean, they wrote this mess up. Constantine the Great played a prominent role in changing Christianity from a religion that was pursued and threatened with punishment to the dominant religion in Europe. Constantine the Great also declared religious tolerance for Christianity and popularized the church in the Roman Empire. Right, and so this is where Christmas comes in at.
Yes. I said
When
that,
and
that
I'm trying to
really.
find the source for that because I know where you're going with this with the winter solstice.
Hmm. Yeah. Before that, they actually had a different celebration. Romans had a different celebration during the time of the solstice, and it wasn't too pretty. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, they did a lot of things that they probably shouldn't have been doing at the time, which was one of the main reasons why Constantine tried to turn them into a religious minded state. He just was trying to basically he was trying to give them some morals, and that was something that they did not have with their old Greco-Roman culture. When it comes to their mythology, Zeus used to go around raping everybody, and they turned around and every time he had a child they would worship the child. And I'm just like, wow, this is kind of a backwards culture here. You actually
Mhm.
have them females, and he's married himself, and every time he has a kid, the humans here on earth worship him and try to deify him. And I'm just like, wow, this is kind of a twisted culture.
Mhm.
But being part of the Byzantine Empire, um they weren't too friendly themselves. because they actually had a lot of contact with cultures like the Berbers. They're along the northern portion of Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a heavy impact on how their lifestyle changed.
Mm-hmm.
So they were pretty much, marauders and stuff like that too, until Constantine came along and tried to, give them this, moral code of law. So I said, when we get into some of these debate groups and stuff like that, we always like to throw around these talking points to, to try to irritate somebody, try, to ruffle their feathers and stuff like that. But it's, it's true. Like I said, but you have to take a look at, the cultural adaptation of and what was going on at that time. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, he the reason why that religion got all the way back to Rome is because of polygamy. When he was in charge of Egypt, him and Cleopatra, he was the one who organized or tried to get the Greek Septuagint written.
He
He
tried to
got
get the Greeks what written?
the excuse me, let me make sure, Septuagint. He was the one that actually authorized that creation by getting one of the Egyptian priests to help them with the translation into that Coptic language from
So
Hebrew.
he was the first one to get the Septuagint translated. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Septuagint. I don't know how you pronounce it. I just pronounce it how I see it in modern English.
I was saying the
I said
interpretation changes, so
tomato, Septuagint. I don't know. Let me just bring up why I'm saying this so people can see how this shit is spelled. Okay, it's spelled crazy. You'd be like
I
Septuagint.
think it's Septuagint. So I think you're actually right on that
I
one. I
don't
think it's
know.
Septuagint.
I don't know. You probably
I said,
right.
but that's why the transliteration is important. You got to go back and you got to see, where these things took place, and see if it wasn't for him establishing this translation from the original Hebrew text,
Mm,
um, the Roman Empire would have never gotten their hands on that book, because by that time, um, him and Cleopatra had already decided to separate themselves from the Roman state.
mhm.
And a little while later, that's when Mark Antony came along and tried to finalize it, and they started that war against Rome, and then they eventually lost. So I said, and of course we know what kind of habits they have when Rome wins, they taking everything back home with them. So that's pretty much how that went from the Middle East all the way back to the Greek Isles, and then you started, having people from the Spanish coastline, all the way up. There
Okay.
were
But
they
see, now I gotta pause you just real quick. I'm sorry. Because when you talk about Spain and then you talk about Constantine, what years are we talking? Because Constantine was in 300s, and then you had the Moors, and then you had the
see,
Renaissance.
there you go, right there. That's it. That's
But
that's
see,
that's
go
what I'm
ahead.
saying, when you follow the migration, I'm pretty sure you heard this before too. But a lot of people like to bring up the Moors and how much influence they had over Spain and Europe
Mhm.
before, they came out of the so-called Dark Ages.
The
So
Dark Ages was the Moors.
so they were the ones who actually, and they were the ones who actually brought enlightenment, to that region. So
Mm,
when they traveled from the Middle East region all the way across, they came in contact with the cultures like the Berbers and stuff like that. And then they went all the way to the, Morocco, and started going upward into the Greek Isles and Italy and stuff like that. And they
mhm,
just kept going further and further, and their influence spread. So
mm,
that's how, that script went from Egypt
mhm.
all the way over to Greece. And then once he got to Greece, you can see that the Moors had a impact in that area as well.
Mhm.
And say their cultural influence just spread up further and further, and they took those stories with them.
Mhm. So, okay, so I know that the Moors were in Europe in the 400 AD to 1400 AD. And I know that's was the beginning in the 1400s of the Spanish conquest, right?
Hmm.
So, also, when was the Renaissance?
Renaissance was, I think, 17 1800s.
I want to say the
I'm not sure if
Renaissance.
that's correct though.
I want to say the Renaissance was. Let's see. It was in the middle. The rebirth. Okay. Let me see. Let me just click on 14th century. So yeah, 1400s. So the Renaissance was a fervent period of European culture, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages, generally described as taking place from the 14th century to the 17th century. The Renaissance promoted the discovery of classical philosophy, literature, and art. so that so so this is what most people think. I mean, most I don't know say all. No, this is what I think. This is what I think. I think that the Moors went into Europe and they civilized Europe.
Yeah,
They
correct. They brought enlightenment to Europe. Let's say if you look at that link I just sent, it actually talks, because you just covered that, what periods they were in Europe, right? And
mm,
you can go back and you can see, when did the Dark Ages end? It was the 1400s.
right, and so little is known about the Dark Ages according to European philosophy, right, or European whatever. So the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Empire in 1453 CE marks the end of the Dark Ages. The Middle Ages time period took place from 500 CE to 1500 CE in Europe. This was a time history that fell. This is a time in history that fell between the end of the Roman Empire and the modern format of European lands. But let's go to because I don't. I'm gonna close that in a minute. Let's see. I want to keep that open. Okay. Let me just get another tab. But this is let me look up the Dark Ages real quick. Hold
And see,
on.
remember the Moors, they were also they are also what you would consider a Semitic group. They actually were well adapted all of the Abrahamic cultures and their
See,
religions.
there's somebody lying about these Dark Ages because it was four. Now they lying. I got some stuff in the archives, but you know how the internet changed stuff. So the migration period, European history. Okay. The migration period, also called Dark Ages or Early Middle Ages, are the early middle medieval period of Western European history, specifically the time of 476 to 800 CE. They so full of it. Yes, BS. I know what time period was. It was from 400 to 1400. But this right here, they trying to scrub the numbers here. You see it?
Yeah.
Mm-mm. That's why you got to keep y'all old books, man, because this internet going to constantly keep changing. You got to keep your books. They want us to get rid of all the books and go internet. Man, no. Keep your books. Keep your books.
Oh yeah, you got to make sure you have a hard copy. You know what I'm saying, especially when it comes to references, so you can always just cross reference, like whenever you come across someone else.
Hmm. Okay, let's go back to so we did that. I was gonna look up the Dark Ages on here, but I don't like I don't like the results of it too much because a lot of things change, you know.
Okay, I got one right here. Um, yeah, I just sent you one right there that actually talks about the time period of where the Moors entered into Spain and conquered Spain with
Oh, 700. Okay.
708 AD and
CE. It
mhm,
said.
and 1492, which it still correlates with the time frame of when the Dark Ages ended. Let's say a lot of us actually, you know what I'm saying, has studied Moorish history and culture and stuff like that. I said, and it actually, you know what I'm saying, remember one of the richest men that has ever, you know what I'm saying, lived in the world was a Moor. So like I said, there is a huge cultural influence that spread from that Middle East, and they just took that wave across, like I say, Africa all the way to Morocco, spread up to the Greek Isles, and then finally into Spain. And then, of course, you know what I'm saying, we know that the Moors still ended up, you know what I'm saying, over here in America. So I said there was a huge cultural influence that just spanned throughout history from, you know what I'm saying, these individuals. And I said when we'll take a look at Semitic, like I said, there's just so many groups that so many different ethnic groups that fall in line. And so I said when you hear people talk about that they're part of this group or they're part of that group, you know, they might very well be telling the truth. But, you know, but it's just really interesting when we come across these traces and we can see that, you know, how things changed over history. I said that's why paying attention to our current dialogue the way we use today, and we can just go all the way back and we can find these traces just like this. You know what I'm saying? We can see that, you know, how things changed, what time periods they changed in, learning how to read the timeline. One of the more recent changes that actually happened um, was when we decided to try to be more culturally acceptive. And we used to use markers like BC and AD, which of course you meant before Christ and after the death, which was actually established by Constantine. But you know, as we got longer into modern times, we just decided to take that terminology out. You know what I'm saying? Because it just caused so much confliction with everybody else who's just having to use this terminology. That's why when you look at the timeline today, you see BCE, which stands for before Common Era, and that is the old reference to BC. And so, like I said, we have to pay attention and learn how to pretty much how to transcribe things in our own modern tongue. Like I said, because this is a recent change that just took place. And so a lot of people, when they go and they try to look something up, they're looking for it and they'll be staring it right in the face and be like, well, I don't understand what this means. Um, Another thing that people usually get tripped up on, they go they really don't know how to use the BCE timeline or how it goes, how it counts up or counts down to our current modernization. But once you go backwards, it counts up, you know what I'm saying, to like the 10,000 BC period and beyond, like that. And a lot of people trip up when they see something like 7th century or 3rd century, and they'll think that, oh, it's 3 years before the common era. No, saying, they say it's century, so it's 300. Excuse me. There's 300 BCE, 700 BCE. And so I say a lot of people just get those terminologies confused today. Oh, sister, you still there? I think you mic on mute.
I'm over here talking and stuff. Okay. So that we can know, I'm going to put up what BC, BCE, those terms mean so people can get a good understanding. A lot of people don't know that so BC is almost always considered as before Christ, right?
Yes, well, I said the terminology that they changed it to is before common era. So that's why you see BCE.
Before common era.
And then instead of saying AD, we usually say
Adeno. What is it? Adeno die something.
No, they usually they have that one, and then would they either say CE, which stands for common era. So I say, well, they actually, saying just recently changed this a few years ago. They say a lot of people, they get online and they really don't, understand that. It just confuses them.
Yeah, AD is Anno Domino. Anno Domino, I believe. I know I'm trying to pronounce it right with these pronunciations. It's crazy. Anno Domini. The terms AD and BC have their roots in Christianity. AD stands for Anno Domini, Latin for the year of the Lord, and it refers specifically to the birth of Jesus Christ. BC stands for before Christ. Right. So, yeah.
And also, I wanted to point out this too. One of the biggest issues when it came to Romanizing stuff is, I think before 300 AD or CE, they did not even use 0 as a placeholder in their, in their numbers. With their Roman numeral characterization did not have a 0. I think Aristotle was the first person to actually use it, but he got that. They got that when during the invasions of the Persians. That's
okay, yeah.
When they came in contact with the Persians, that's when they started to come across with these other information, and that's when they started using 0 as a placeholder. But by that time, like I said, you had Constantine.
Well, Roman numerals is way different than the numbers that we use.
Yep. And so it becomes a big problem when you just forget that 10. When you don't use that 0 as a placeholder, it causes a problem.
It don't. I know how to. Do you know how to read Roman numerals?
No. I'm talking about as far as the numeric system today. Like if we were to try to do mathematics using the Pythagorean theorem, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We cannot do it without understanding the value of 0. See what I'm saying? So back then, when they were doing these, calculations and stuff like that, and these Roman and Greek scientists or philosophers, they were, trying to do all this, and mathematicians, they did not have a full understanding, and so their calculations were off. So I say it became an issue, like I said, but when you get into studying the language and how it changes through time, we can begin to understand where some of the mistakes were made during that time period when they were trying to make translations into different cultural adaptations.
Well, wasn't they using like an abacus or something like that?
That was actually Egyptians and the Mesopotamia still was using the abacus. I said that's why they did not know, what I'm saying, about 0 being a placeholder until they got invaded by the Persians, and then they started finding.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about significant digits? Significant digits?
Yes.
Like the significant number.
Because I said you before you can understand the value of one, you have to
Mm.
understand the value of zero. So it's like, yeah, you can
And
see
what's the value
something,
of zero? I'm just
nothing,
asking.
nothing. So it's
Okay.
kind of like how we teach our kids, you know what I'm saying, from birth, like well, not from birth, but actually from a young age, we try to teach our kids the value of money. But it's hard to teach them the value of money because they don't earn money. They don't make money. They, you know what I'm saying? So if you give it to them, just gonna find a way to spend it. You know what I'm saying? And to them, not having money doesn't mean anything because they come from a different source. When you're actually the one that got to go out there and get the money, oh, being broke means something completely different. You don't want to come back home after you just spent 16 hours, you know what I'm saying, you just broke. You're gonna feel terrible. So it said when you know what I'm saying, understand what zero means, what having nothing means, then you can understand what the abundance means. So they said that's what was some of the errors in their system. Um, they would see an object and they would be like, "Oh, that's one." Okay,
Mm.
what does it mean to not have an object? They did not know that.
Exactly. I feel that. I feel that 100%. You hit that on the nail, brother. I really feeling that because how you gonna know you got something if you don't know when you have nothing?
Exactly. I say, if you never experience misery, then you'll never understand what true joy really is. It's just
Mm-hmm.
as above, so below. Like all these principles, just pretty much intertangle with each other. So I said
Like
they.
like they say, as in heaven. Wait, how it go? In heaven on earth, and
Mhm.
in heaven on earth, as above, so below. Is that the same thing?
So yeah, pretty much as above, so below. We are actually using an equal representation of what existence is, from higher to lower self.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say you also have, like I said, the medium principle. You know what I'm saying? If you have a higher self, you have a lower self, then you also have a neutral version of yourself that's, absolutely no good to anybody. The lazy person, the louse, that sits at home, just don't do anything, just not productive at all. Like your entire existence is actually dependent on somebody else. So, you know, you can't do anything for yourself. If somebody else is doing something for you, you don't even have that type of mindset where you want to get out. And what I'm saying, it's okay to fail at something, what I'm saying, but it's just not okay to do nothing.
Man, and so many people fall into that, and it's so crazy, and it's like it's boring, it's boring not to do nothing. Just to do nothing, that's a boring ass life. Like,
Oh, they love it though. They love it. I know, it's been plenty of times where what I'm saying, I struggle with unemployment and stuff like that. But I have a reading addiction. It's actually a thing. I found that out a few weeks ago. I used to always joke with people about this. I was like, hey, because I love reading books. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? I have so many different copies of books. Say I showed you a couple of my religious sources and stuff like that. Here's another one of my favorites right here, though. So this is actually the Book of Josephus,
Mhm.
a collection of some of his historical texts. I know some people don't like Josephus because they consider him be too Christian, but I say that's when you start studying transliteration, you understand why um, some of his terminology ended up being Romanized, and ended up, saying, into these Christian adaptations that it is today.
You reminded me of something I wanted to do. I want to bring up Constantine, because Constantine, he ruled for 31 years and he never outlawed paganism. And I know that it said that he he mixed paganism with Christianity. Do you believe that?
Um, he used Christianity to cover up their paganism, if that makes sense. So
You gonna
even
have
when you look
to
at
elaborate, sir.
yeah, even when you let's say when you go to the text in the New Testament, you can find conversations between people like Paul, where they said that they were having arguments with the Hellenists.
Mm-hmm.
Those are Greek people who believe in the Roman pantheon,
Mm-hmm.
where they, saying may have worshipped Zeus or Poseidon or Helen, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And say that's who he commonly did battle with sometimes in that area, because around that time Rome had occupied Judea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that he did the best. I'm not gonna say he was a creep or he was a saint, but he did the best he could, because I said before he offered them Christianity or that adaptation,
Mm-hmm.
you know they were bloodthirsty. They did some really terrible things. Just the Byzantine Empire by itself, and that's not even talking about the Romans and
And
the
I
rest
just
of.
deleted that chart from the Byzantine Empire too. I was gonna show it. I figured you was gonna go there.
Yeah, so they weren't the greatest people in the world. I mean, they were their culture was more closely related to the Vikings. Like they were just really brutal. And so
Mm-hmm.
he did the best he could by trying to, as some folks say, the Bible is a tool to manipulate the hearts of the people to try to get them to do this. For them it was, because
Mm-hmm.
they had no chill. You know,
Yeah.
they were all over the place. They even went to war with the Arcadians.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they they were among the main group of people that actually held the Spartans captive,
Mm-hmm.
which were actually Greeks themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, their history really isn't the greatest. So he did what he could to try to get them to change their ways, and he used he used that adaptation to try to change some of their cultural habits. Like I said, when it comes to Christmas and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure you heard some of the stories about what the old Roman traditions were when it comes to Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And he adapted some of those changes. So it's not like he changed it in the Bible to say, oh, he was born on December 25th. That's not what the Bible says. He just used that day because they were doing some really bad things on that day.
Right.
They were
Right.
getting drunk and they were raiding, they were raping people, even their sons, stuff like that. They were doing some real bad things on that day when they were celebrating the solstice, because they would get drunk and then whatever goes went. And he did what he could to try to change their cultural adaptation to get them to behave a little bit better.
Right. He allowed them to keep practicing um their what they were doing, but he did it. He did it in the name of Christ. In other words,
Yeah, yeah. And I say he wasn't a terrible person for doing what he did, because I said he he just had to do what he had to do to try to get his people from their way of life. Because as you read in the description, before that period, they were actually going around executing people. Um,
mm-hmm.
that was actually one of the cultures that Paul, or the man formerly known as Saul, was from. Well, he was actually born in Turkey, but he's actually Byzantine.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's what they did. They would go around, they would persecute people, they would torture them, chopping off body parts, they were ruthless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, right, right. That's medieval times. Oh my God. Have you ever been to the medieval museum?
Oh no, 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 I don't waste my time over there.
Man, they had all kind of torture devices. All kind.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were really terrible, and that's why when you look at some of the events from the Spanish Inquisition, and when they brought that behavior over to
mhm.
the Americas, some of their torture tactics when the way they mistreated the southern natives were brutal. They would actually throw them into vats of tar and boil them in the tar, and if they came out alive, they would throw feathers on them, and just humiliate them until they till they died.
Okay, I found the thing I want to share when you was talking about Constantine, but then I want to go forward past that. Hmm. This is his family tree, so you can kind of see what's going on. But yeah, they was ruthless back then. They still ruthless to the day to this day. They just got
Got
different
different tactics.
different weapons, different tactics, different everything.
I
Uh,
said, he did the best he could.
he
Like I
just
said,
said he tried to calm the beast. I kind of understand where he was going, but then too, there are certain appointed days according to if he's a Christian, then he got to be into the Bible and the Scripture, and there are certain feast days according to the Most High. So when we start celebrating any other feast day outside of that, it's still paganism. Even if he was trying to get them to believe in something they didn't believe, they just didn't believe. You know, because they still want to keep the winter solstice. They still want these in scripture too. It says that there's different kind of bodies. There's celestial bodies, there's spiritual bodies, and then there's fleshful bodies. So when you get to celebrating
oh, your camera, you're being a little choppy.
okay, when you get to celebrating uh planets and stuff, you're celebrating celestial bodies. So that's how that go. Anyway, is it anything else you would like to share? Would you like to open up the chat?
Oh, sure, sure, sure. They are welcome to join if they want to.
Okay, so I could send this the StreamYard link to you, and if you want to share it to anybody, I can send it to your messenger. So
Oh,
if
sure.
yeah, so if anybody want to join in on the conversation and they have any input, um, go ahead and join in. Okay, so we're gonna wait for that. But then, is there anything else you want to bring out? Did we go? We went against the. We went. I'm sorry. We brought up the Septuagint. The earliest. I don't know what this word. Oh, girl. The earliest Greek translation of Old Testament of the original Hebrew. The Septuagint was presumably made for the Jewish community in Egypt when Greek was the common language throughout the region. Okay, intro to the Talmud. The Talmud is a collection of ancient Jewish teachings, stories, and ideas. The word Talmud comes from the Hebrew word for study or learning. The Talmud is the primary source of Jewish religious law and theology. So, based off your knowledge, do you think that the Talmud, uh, have you read the Talmud?
I have not completed. I put it like that. I've read bits and pieces, but I have not read it all the way through yet. So I've not completed my study on that.
Okay. So I know it's written by those that's in Israel right now, the ones that's Jewish, uh,
Mhm.
and so they created the Talmud. Hmm. And so, like, they can literally, like, in the Talmud, they can literally do every atrocity on earth to every other human being but themselves.
Well, that's. Oh, you're trying to get me to say some stuff I don't want to say now.
What
But
happened?
but some of the Old Testament text is yeah, it can be a little gruesome. It's not some there's some not too nice things in there. Like for instance, when Moses came down from the mountain, God actually told before he came down from the mountain, God told Moses that he wanted to kill all of them because they had decided to turn to idol worship.
Yeah.
And Moses begged God to pretty much change his mind.
Mm-hmm.
He agreed, and he told him that he will only agree if he
Mm-hmm.
went down there and taught them, what I'm saying, the word, which was to give them the 10 Commandments. Well, for some reason, Moses got down to the bottom of the mountain and he decided to act brand new. Got down there, I'm saying, a little upset, broke the tablets before saying anything to anybody, told, saying the people that was on this side to line up on one side of the camp, told the others to go to the other side, and proceeded to kill about 3,000 people that night. So I said there's some stuff in there that's, take it how you want. Me myself, I said I'm not Christian, or I don't do deities. I
Yeah.
just
So do you consider yourself an atheist?
to me, I think that's like one of the dumbest references of all. Because, for example, do we have a term for people that don't believe in unicorns?
Uh-oh.
So I'm just like, why do we, have to keep trying to go to this point where we just try to label everything and try, so that's what I'll go talk about when I started off. Like, we get to the point where we could be so divisive,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying, we just can't accept someone else's difference. So
Well,
I,
so you don't believe unicorns exist?
I've never seen a unicorn. I've never seen the fossil unicorn. I've never read any zoology books that talk about the existence of them. Uh, but I've also heard people try to use rhinos,
Mm-hmm.
as a reference point to unicorns. But
Mm-hmm.
I said that's also about saying, going back into linguistics and stuff like that, and to see how those different terminologies was used back in that time. Because
Okay,
a
so
unicorn, if
I have my dictionary. Uh, and so when I look up the word unicorn in this dictionary, this is my I'm gonna take a picture and show you. But yeah, unicorn is definitely uh uh it goes towards a single horn animal. Hmm. Let me find it. Oh, here you go, here you go. So, it has been attributed to a rhinoceros. Um, and it's also attributed to um other animals. Let me get the real unicorns here. So it's a Siberian rhinoceros. Let me just put, because unicorn just means one horn. Yeah. Let's see if we could just get some images. Okay. So unicorn means one horn. it's not. It was later attributed to the mythical horse, but it just means a one-horned animal.
But see, that's also when you come into what they call the being Romanized, when
Mm,
they took some of these words out, because actually the myth of what we could call unicorns, or what we, use as the image of unicorns, actually came from Roman mythology too, which spans from the Pegasus, the winged horse.
those are two different mythical animals, because one has wings and one has a horn.
And then they also have a version with wing horn, a unicorn Pegasus too. Did you know that one? They got a lot of stuff. I mean, the Minotaur and all that type stuff. So their
Mm-hmm.
mythology gets weird.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
okay, so you said that your translation would be a horned animal, right?
A single horned animal. So, like for instance, for an example, right? When they say dragon, when they say a dragon, they could um they could be talking about dinosaurs. Do you believe dinosaurs existed?
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
I've seen the fossils of those, and you can see the evidence, and the carbon footprint. This. I mean,
And
it
so,
was so big. It
so
was so big. It's kind of hard.
from our understanding that dinosaurs are like large lizards, right? Is a dinosaur far from
Different.
being a? I mean, not a dinosaur. Is a dragon far from being a large lizard?
Actually, no. A lot of the cultural adaptations actually comes from those translations of being a dinosaur. Because dragon doesn't mean fire breathing. You know what I'm saying? It's just winged lizard is actually what the oldest translation of dragon. I'm saying, is transcribed from. It was this winged lizard. So
Mhm.
I mean, if you actually go back and you look at some of the fossil records and stuff like that, I mean, I, I can see why someone would say that a pterodactyl is a winged lizard, and some of these different. I say because their terminology that they use, their terminology and understanding is not the same level that we have today. So because
Mhm.
we have access to information all across the world, we can cross-reference stuff.
Mhm.
And so that's why I say, some people they look at the unicorn in the Bible and they represent it as it being the the rhino.
Mhm.
Um, but that's to say, if you go back and you look at to the, let's see, what is the what would be the Hebrew word for that? I'm not even sure.
The Hebrew word for what?
Unicorn or rhino. I'm probably sure it would probably translate into something else though.
Okay, let me check. Let me see. I want to close off so I could just go back to some of these things later. Okay. You said that you want the well now let me just give this real quick because it say dragon. This is from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The first definition is a huge serpent. And so that's also a reference because it says that serpent, the devil, right? That's a yeah, Revelation 9. It says so and the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceiveth the whole world. So, according to this, they said that great dragon was cast out, and then they went into the definition of that serpent of old called the devil. You get it? So
Mm-hmm.
when the dragon word came about, then they went into the definition to let you know what dragon they talking about. That old serpent. You know what I'm saying? So that's a word that's been
Yeah.
like that. And then
Take a look at the
let's just go to
take a
the
look at the link that I just sent you there when you were talking about the serpent,
mm,
large serpent. We actually have that as part of our fossil record as well, which is called Titanoboa. 42. It was 42 feet long.
mm,
So I said, when the reference of dragon can also translate into a reference point for dinosaurs that different species or types that lived in that area. They might have found the bones at some point
mm.
and didn't really understand what it was they found, because if I come across something like that for the first time, it's gonna freak me out too.
Okay, so let's just look at the instances that unicorn came into the scripture. This is Job 39, verse 9. Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee or abide by thy crib? In this instance, when it say, will the unicorn be that part that's set apart, like that individual? Let me go back to the unicorn definition. Because it's because it does say mythical animal, but it has many definitions, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what? I want
Okay,
to.
so right here, so it would be the second definition in Job. I'm saying in that particular scripture, something unusual, rare, or unique. So when they said it here, let's see. The Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee or abide by thy crib? They're talking about the second definition, something that's unique, right? And then he maketh them also to skip like a calf, Lebanon and Syrian like a young unicorn. That also means separate and unique because they were being different. And then it said, God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. So right here, it's referring to that rhinoceros, that unicorn, because the strength of a unicorn. And the rhinoceros is a strong animal, right? But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Not only is it talking about the rhinoceros unicorn right here, but it's talking about having one horn. And it's also referring to what's that horn that they blow? The shofar, the shofar? Is that what it's called?
Oh, that's about the ram's horn.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and they only blow one. They don't blow two. So it's also referencing that too. When you look at that thing right there. But see, this goes back into your transliteration. This goes back into your linguistics and everything, and to understand the metaphors, the similes, and all those things, the similitudes, and things like that. So when you read certain things, we got to read from the understanding of when it was written. Is that correct or no?
Well, I put it like this. When it comes to Psalms, I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely not rubbing any oil on top of a rhino's head. I don't see how anybody can survive that one. So
No, it don't say that. It says, "My horn shall thou exalt like the horn." But my horn. So first of all, it's my horn
that's
shall
what I'm saying. It's like
exalt
that's why
like
I
the
don't see
horn
how
of
that
a
could be.
unicorn.
Yes, I say I don't see that one as being a literal trend. Like it has to be a
Right.
figure of
So
speech, because like I say I'm not rubbing oil on the rhino.
it's not telling you to run the horn oil on the rhino. It says, "I shall be anointed with fresh oil." So that's like, so there's a colon there. So this is an independent thought relating to the first thought. So the two are unrelated, but it's another analogy.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first part says, "But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of an unicorn." So my horn, which is my voice, my trembling, shall exalt. You know how a horn make a noise? Okay. And it shall exalt. So my word, when he say, "But my horn," the first horn is the sound of a horn. So this is his voice. This is his sound. "Shalt thou exalt like the horn." So now he's talking about the rhinoceros. You're gonna exalt like the horn
And
of a
see,
unicorn.
if we look at the New International Version, the
It's called.
NIV.
I'm sorry. It's called a double entendre. You know
Mhm.
how people rap, and you know what I'm saying? It's a double entendre.
I say in the New International Version, this is why it's important to understand at what point these translations changed and end up being adapt, because it says in Psalms 92:10 in the International Version, "You have exalted my horn like that of a wild ox."
That would be the rhinoceros.
Mhm.
Okay. What am I
So
doing right here? Because I got, like, you sent me a link, but it sent me to this snake thing. This what I'm looking at right here.
yes, that would be the Titanoboa.
Mm-hmm.
I said when they talked about, saying seeing the great serpent and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, yeah, somebody probably came across something like that and just freaked the hell out. Because I'm saying if I see a damn 3 foot snake, I'm going in the other direction. I'm pulling something out trying to kill it. But if it's 42 feet long, bruh, come on. Like, what you gonna do against something like that? You gonna need divine intervention.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. That's a big serpent. I seen one on TikTok, um, where it was big. It was in South America.
Oh yeah, they have some anacondas that get up to. I think the biggest one was around 30 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest one on record was around 30 feet long, and so yeah. And even when it comes to alligators today, what I'm saying, they can get to the point where they just keep growing, because there's like some saltwater crocodiles that could get up to 25 plus feet. And that's about the size of a great white shark.
Mm-hmm.
So that's huge. So I say
Mm-hmm.
when we look at these terms.
Um,
Mhm.
cause I'm a little confused when you say alligator, because I'm thinking like, is an alligator a lizard? Yeah, huh? Like alligator is a lizard, right?
Reptile.
Or is
All
it
that
or
would go
is
into
it
the same
it's a
family.
reptile? Okay, it's a reptile. I'm sorry. So alligator is a reptile,
Well, lizards and
and
reptiles are saying in the same family.
hmm. Okay, so reptiles are not, because you got your amphibians and you got your reptiles. Let me see what the heck is a reptile. I be forgetting stuff. Let's just see what those are, because I need to know. I be forgetting stuff and I know better. Okay, so a vertebrate animal of a class that includes snakes, lizards, crocodiles, turtles, tortoises. They are distinguished by having a dry, scaly skin and typically laying soft-shelled eggs on land. Okay. So yeah, I know that okay, so they are related, because snakes, lizards, and crocodiles are all reptiles. But I'm wondering if reptiles wasn't described as a serpent. You know what I'm saying? I don't spell this thing wrong. What the an animal that crawls or moves on its belly, such as a snake or a small short on small, short legs, such as a lizard. Mm. Anyways, moving on. I
But yeah,
mean,
we
they're
actually,
related. I
I
say
actually got it. We
reptiles.
in our group, we actually got into a really intense discussion about that one day because you wouldn't believe how many people that will actually they actually believe in dragons, but they don't believe in dinosaurs.
Okay, but what if they both the same thing? Then what?
Yeah, they're
It,
synonymous with each other. So
was some flying. It was some flying dinosaurs, the pterodactyl.
yeah,
And so, who's to say that that who's to say that the pterodactyl wasn't a
and
dinosaur?
that's it. When it comes to this like I'm glad you brought this up because like so when it comes to transliteration example, we could take Komodo dragons. All right, so Komodo dragons are a variation of a reptile. They're actually quite large, about I think 5 to 7 feet long, and so
Mm,
they have this toxic venom, and you know what I'm saying. And when they bite you, it's almost like a paralysis,
mm,
and it causes a burning sensation. So it's easy to, you know what I'm saying, equate that to it being a, fire breathing lizard because its saliva, causes this extreme sensation of, burning.
mm.
And as you
Right.
see there, there's actually a few pictures where, some of the dinosaurs amongst the family were pterodactyls or pterodactyls are,
Pterodactyl. That's that linguistic language understanding that you just like you said, Django.
yeah.
And even though the PHFED always silent. But anyways, the pterodactyl is you want to call it's either a pterodactyl or a pterodactyl. You pick because one of them consonants is silent.
And actually, pterodactyl means terrible flying bird. I think it's like translation to terrible flying creature.
Mm,
And actually, you can see with some of the different variations that you have one right there in the middle, which looks very much like uh, would similar be to like a walking dinosaur, but they can fly.
mm, mm.
So you have so many different variations. So it's like you can't say that dragons are real and dinosaurs are fake because, like I said, they're synonymous with each other. There's probably an absolute possibility that in times of antiquity they came across these bones and they just didn't know what it was, but it just looked so terrifying to them that they just tried to describe it the best way they possibly could.
Right. So then you gotta understand like different so the words, just like you said, some words we borrow because we don't have those words in our vocabulary. So we borrow like Greek words or Latin words or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it kind of goes like that, hand in hand with the linguistics of it all. And it's very important because we got to understand what we're looking at. You know, we could say, "Oh, I see a UFO." 10 years down the line, it might have a specific name. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh, that
Mhm.
might be the 103842 plane or something. We don't know. We don't know. I'm just saying.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because when I was in the military, um, that's actually part of protocol when it comes to stuff like that. If you don't know what it is, what I'm saying, don't say, I seen this and that's not what you actually seen. Just describe it the best way you possibly can and try to give an accurate description. But if
Mhm.
you don't know what it actually is, then don't say it's this. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they use that. Well, they actually changed it now to oh god, what is the new term now? They have a new term.
Alternative
They
facts.
don't call it UFOs anymore.
Mhm.
I can't even remember what it is now, but they have a new terminology for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but a lot of times that's what it was. I remember a few years ago, I was walking outside. I think I was maybe taking out the trash or something,
Mm-hmm.
and I just happened to look up, and I seen something moving in the sky, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is that?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, like I don't want to say it's a UFO, like, but I see something moving across the sky. And so I end up calling one of my close friends. I said, "Hey, bro, I need you to look up in the sky." And I pointed it out to him, you know what I'm saying, in the direction that it was. So he was able to see it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned around and I called my mom and I told her the same thing, like, "Hey, I need you to look outside and look up over here in this direction and tell me if you see something."
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "Yeah, I see something." She's like, "What is that?" I was like, "I don't know, but it's something." And the next day, it turned around and we looked at the news, and it was Elon Musk, his Starlink satellite.
Oh, okay. See, you found out what it was, and that goes around. That goes all the way around. You know, only fact can be proven. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want to just assume this is what we're seeing. Let things play out. Let's see how things unfold in a way. You know what I'm saying? So, biblically speaking, a lot of things they described, like I seen a chariot. Okay, a chariot back then meant something, a moving
A moving
object,
vehicle.
a moving vehicle. So I seen a chariot. This vehicle was moving, and it had a lion head. You know what I'm saying? It is. So he's trying to who the writer is trying to describe what it is that they're seeing to the best of their ability.
Yeah, and it could have translated into, a chariot from a Roman soldier, because they quite often use lions and they also use wings,
Mm-hmm.
to, decorate some of their stuff. So,
Right.
you
Okay.
never know. They were just trying to describe it the best way they
But he
could.
was looking into a future. He seen something, and he didn't know what it was, but it had a four faces, or five faces, and then one face had this, and one face. You know what I'm saying? I'm just paraphrasing. That's me paraphrasing, because I can bring up the scripture for what it was, but I'm paraphrasing. So that's basically what's happening, and then so a lot of naysayers would be like, "Well, no unicorns back then." Okay, that's because you're thinking on your current language. You're
Yeah,
not
that's the Romanized version, the Romanized term, because they had these creatures of mythology, before Christianity or was being introduced to them. And so they
so
just,
have you
they
ever heard
interpreted things
have you
into
ever
their
heard
language.
have you ever heard of the Samaritan tablets?
Yes.
What about the Emerald tablets?
That is one of my favorite books. I listen to that probably like 2 to 3 times a week. It's actually so interesting to me. When I first got into it, it was very confusing because I had not studied hermetics.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really confusing to me. I was like, I don't understand who they're trying to talk about here. Like, are they talking about the Egyptian though? Are they talking about Hermes? Like, are they talking about being in Atlantis? Like, I don't get like what they're talking about. So I had to take a step back
Mm-hmm.
and actually go back and study some more of hermetics, and also you can find some of the stories about Atlantis in the writings of Plato,
Mm-hmm.
and also with the what they call the Iliad.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start reading, saying some of those texts, then you can start getting the understanding of what, saying they were trying to talk about in the Emerald tablets,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really a combination of hermetics and Kemetic teaching at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really more about it's kind of, that's it. There's so much that's tied into it, but it's really more of a spiritual it's a book about spirituality more than religion itself, because they do mention stuff about having like 9 gods that created the realm and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But they're not trying to get you to bow down and worship these, entities. They're just
Mhm.
saying that they are the things that constructed, our existence and our reality and stuff like that. And they're just trying to get you to become more in tune with understanding the nature of the universe.
Mhm.
Oh, see, there you go with it. That's my boy EA Iki. So you went back with the
Okay.
tablets on that one. I can recognize that one. I've been through that one so many times.
You have?
Yeah, I actually love Zachariah Sitchin's translation. And
Mhm.
even when you go back and you read the Babylonian transcripts, they have it's so much into it. It's just really weird that how these people would even know about some of these objects that, I'm saying, existed in the heavens or in the stars above us.
Let
It's
me let
just
me pause you. Let me pause you real quick, right? Because I want you to can you see my pointer? Do you see this thing that the man is holding
hmm
right here? Do you see my pointer?
yeah.
What do you think this is?
I actually do not know what that is.
It's a telescope.
Okay, well, I can kind of understand that because you will have to same basic principles of light refraction to magnify the image. I could see how it could possibly be a telescope.
Mm-hmm. You have that.
Because when you go back into Egyptian culture, Egyptians were actually the first people to use electricity. They had a they came up with a working design for a battery, and which is what they use a different type of acid to create this chemical reaction, which cause electricity, which is not too far out because you can do the same thing by plugging into electrodes to a potato, and you can saying get a
Our the ground. That's where
or even a lemon.
huh?
And so
Yeah.
yeah, you can get that type of reaction. You can actually create electricity back in ancient times if you just had a piece of metal and saying managed to fashion wire, in which these people were metal workers at that time, so they did have the ability to fashion metal and find wire because they had necklaces and all types of ornaments.
Mhm. So basically, they say that the pyramids of Giza are um are electrical conduits.
It could be some truth about it, but when it comes to Egyptologists,
Mhm.
they are really sketchy about letting anyone around those pyramids
Mhm.
because you're talking about some of the world's oldest landmarks.
Mhm.
And so it's just like, yeah, you want to find out what everything is about, but at the same time, you know sending folks into the pyramids, into some of those lower levels is actually extremely dangerous because you just don't know when it could collapse on top of somebody. So, I can understand why they don't, allow people to actually, I'm saying, go into those pyramids and, try to study some of those ancient, passages and stuff. But every
Mhm.
now and then they do have they send their own people down there and they end up finding a new burial chamber and something like that, and it's more
Mhm.
evidence that ends up being uncovered. But
Mhm.
I can understand why you don't want to just let everybody go down there.
Mhm.
I mean, you're talking about something that's been around for what, around 8,000, 10,000 years.
Mhm.
So you know, yeah, I wouldn't let just be anybody play around in there either.
Mhm. Right, 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 right. So, It's deep because this is because cuneiform and hieroglyphs and the meta I ain't even we ain't gonna even touch on that. But it's like pictorial language.
Yeah, pictograph.
Yeah, a pictograph. And so this is just my ideology. When you see the birds on the hieroglyph, that's when you're seeing from a how can I put it? Like from a macro level, like you could see far, you're seeing from, I want to say second person, outside looking in type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talking about like some of the Egyptian hieroglyphics to how they use the birds as representations of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually see we actually had a couple of guys. We had a conversation about this,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually when they use some of those imageries. It has multiple meanings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a image of a raven that's sitting above like a little squiggly line, which looks like water. There's another image of it where it has like three dots, and then there's another image where it has just a straight line. All
Mm-hmm.
right, so those are actually three different representations of what they say black land. Well, one of them actually means black soil, which for
Mm-hmm.
those who don't know, there's around the Nile Delta area, there's actually black soil. So that was one of the references as being black land. Another reference to it was, of course, applied to individuals like the Kushites and the Ethiopians, the Sudanese, and stuff like that, who lived amongst the lower Egypt area.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another representation of that too. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, so you have like multiple representations, and you have to pay attention to those small differences to know which one they're actually, saying referring to.
Mm-hmm.
It's which is why a lot of people today, well, a lot of us today, people of color, reference Egypt as Kemet
Mm-hmm.
as being black land.
Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's a hieroglyph, right? And if you can see this and this, even this, they look like modern day, like maybe this could be it almost looked like the one in the middle almost looked like a Goodyear blimp or whatever, or maybe even a sub. And this one kind of looked like a car. It could be you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It looked like a car. This looked like a submarine. And this one kind of looked like an airplane or something. But you see how they tried to, and then this kind of looks like a bird, like seeing what's going on, you know. So it
Well,
is
I,
pictorial.
I've seen that one before. Excuse me. I believe they actually found out that that was actually somewhat a broken piece of tablet, and there was just not. It was kind of fractured. If you know what I mean, I believe that one was uncovered as because something else was on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had pieces that ended up being fragmented and stuck to it, and they had to do some more work to it to be
Mm-hmm.
able to clean it up in order to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. It was pretty interesting. I think that was actually that became one of the more famous hieroglyphics because was the show Ancient Aliens, because they big onto stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that show was actually, it took a lot of things out of context because they would just go around looking for, something that just stood out, and, try to create an entire storyline based on, this one little piece. And so I said it, say, let me pull it up here. I said they ended up finding out that, I say, it was broken off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll share the link with you right here. And this is from a archaeologist website where they actually managed to try to break it down, and they further examine the tablet.
Did you send it to me or not?
I'm sending it to you now. And so I said it was a really interesting story. What I'm saying, they had people thinking. But I said once they tried once they examined it even further, they said that that's not what it actually what the actual images was. It came out to be something else. But how people get to see these days, they got the conspiracy theorists that think everybody's lying, and but when it comes down to it, pretty much every religion known to man tells a story about how a being that was not from Earth, including the Bible, tells a story about a being that was not from Earth that created, either created the Earth or created them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there could be some truth into that, and who knows? But until you actually find that definitive answer, we just have to keep going with our own work in progress. Like I said, some people they actually get hung up. Like I said, when it comes to the one of the biggest setbacks with the theory of evolution is a lot of people try to tie it in with Darwinism. And what Darwin did and what Darwinism is actually two different things, because Darwinism was not established by Charles Darwin. That came from someone else after he had died. And of course, during that period of time, they had some really racist and classist ideology flooding around through Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And they took what he said. His statement was actually that life began in Africa, and of course, individuals that were filled with this classist ideology and turned it around and said that the populace of the continent of Africa were the less evolved form of man, because they were still there, living with nature, being one with nature.
Mm-hmm.
But saying there's just and Darwinism itself was not a complete theory. And there was actually, we talked about this before, it was actually a Islamic theist and a scientist who came up with the theory of evolution through natural selection, more than close to a thousand years before Charles Darwin, even existed. So this, natural selection was not something that was brand new. And you can actually attribute that information to, of course, the Moors, like I say, who was well versed in every Abrahamic culture. So they had that information from that Islamic representation,
Mm-hmm.
and which is pretty much probably how Darwin came across that information around that time.
Mm-hmm.
I say, because when the Moors, they had a lot of influence in that region, and that's pretty much how Christianity and got pushed up into Europe, is because how they occupied Spain and stuff like that.
Okay. Um. So let me just read this because you touched on it. While the term Darwinism had been used previously to refer to the work of Aramis Darwin in the late 18th century, the term, as understood today, was introduced when Charles Darwin's 1859 book on the origin of species was reviewed by Thomas Henry Huxley in April 1860 issue of the Westminster Review. So, yeah, that's who I guess coined the word Darwinism.
Yes, exactly.
Let me
So
ask you this: do you think that Darwin was a racist?
I have no answer to that. I mean, there's no real information about his personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, even when you look at some of his notes, he's not actually speaking of anyone else's existence in a negative way. I said his original statement was saying that human life, as in the, well, I'll say Homo sapiens, as in the current variation of humans here on Earth, started in Africa. And even when you pick up the Bible, you can find stories about the Garden of Eden being where in Africa, because he says that it's next to the rivers that are flowing in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, and let's say even when we look at genetics, we can confirm a lot of this information today. Saying like 99% of our genetic structure is a match for the rest of humanity, and that little 1% is our genetic diversity, which we call today ethnicity. So it's funny how, saying we've actually gotten to the point where we kill each other over this small little 1% difference within our genetic group.
What happened? You decided not to be on camera no more?
Oh, no, what it is, certain things in Alabama aren't necessarily, allowed across the rest of the U.S. So I was taking time out to do something to, and I had to turn my camera off. So, I don't want to, you know, give away what I was actually doing, because I said some things is actually legal across the rest of the US. We still working on it. We still a work in progress down here in Bama.
Mm.
So if you hear me clicking my lighter, just know I'm doing something, but something I'm not gonna say.
Mm. I gotcha. I got. Um, let's move on, cause I think that I'm on the fence about that, but we're not gonna talk about that. Let's just move on with. Okay, so we went through history. We started from the etymology of transliteration. And then we talked about different languages as far as English, Middle English, Old English, Greek, Latin, and what was the other one? Greek, Latin. It was that was it, right? Oh, Yiddish. We went over that.
Oh,
We,
the Vulgate, which is the ancient Latin translation to the Old English, not the ancient Latin, but it's what's the some of the that was the okay. We talked about that was the Vulgate, which
yeah,
was
so
one of
we
the oldest translations into Old English, which is the 7th to 8th century. So about 700 years, around the 700-year mark in the Common Era is when the first Old English translation actually arrived in Europe. And like I said, you can actually go back and you could trace that path and that timeline, which matches with the Moors arriving in Spain. So after they arrived in Spain, they were actually the first ones to introduce the Old English translation from Vulgate, which is a Latin tongue, into what they use today. What was Old English? and then you had the what everybody likes to use as the King James 1811 version, which is actually Middle English. Like I said, so there are a bunch. I said there were actually more than 3,000 translations today. And like I said the most recent adaptation is back in 2021 where they came out with another one. And let's say what was that again? No, 2020, the literal standard version, which is more tailored to the evangelical population, which most of us, as people of color, we've never really mixed with that crowd. Even if you were involved in the church, because most Black people in America, excuse my reference, end up becoming Baptist or saying affiliated with some type of saying Bible denomination and stuff like that. Jehovah Witness, and of course, and I didn't even get to cover some of the Islamic translations, which we end up using today. There's actually a huge difference between some of the ancient Islamic texts and what the Nation of Islam uses today. And which is one of the reasons why Malcolm X made a huge transition after he went over and visited Mecca. Once he visited Mecca and he got a chance to see what some of those old rabbi texts were saying and got a chance to experience their way of life and their religion, he didn't behave the same, and the nation didn't really agree too much with his path after he came back. And there's also, did I cover the Kabbalah? I don't think I end up covering that one, which is the Jewish Kabbalah is a set of esoteric teachings that explain the relationship between God and the universe. It is the type of Jewish mysticism that first appeared in the 12th century in the province of Catalina. So that is also another unique translation, which is actually considered to be among Judaism today. So they, like I said, they have so many different adaptations. Like I say, you have to be careful with what we read today and believe that we know everything about the universe that took place, saying 6,000-7,000 years ago into these time frames, along with the Abrahamic faith. And I said, when you start going back, you're just going to keep seeing more and more and more. I really hope that, saying people will actually get more into some of the texts from outside of that. Like I said, the Sumerian tablets is a very interesting story, even when you're looking at the Babylonian translation. The Babylonian translation being one of the later translations, which ends up having a lot of the name changes. The first adaptation actually came along with the Akkadians when they took over after the Sumerians left. I said, where the story of the Sumerian, the biblical story of Noah can actually be traced back through the ancient Mesopotamian story or the Sumerian story of Zayasutra. And so, as we know, if you well versed in the Bible, Abraham came from the city of Ur. The most interesting thing about that is that before it was called the city of Ur, it was called what was the name of it? It was the same place that Enki lived, Eridu. So that place before Babylonian rule, which is around the time where Abraham was supposedly lived, um, there was a cultural transition to that point. And so there could be some correlation between the some of the stories that come out of there because like say he did, even when you look at the text in the Bible, it states that Abraham was living in Ur. And so if we take a couple of steps back in history, say we could see that that was called Eridu, and Eridu was supposed to have been the land of gods. And shortly after the Sumerian flood, which actually took place in Lower Samaria, which is where the original populace or group of Sumerians lived. So they left that area after the flooding because they took such a long time for the water to recede and stuff like that. So it's actually a true story when it involves that. That it was a flooding that actually took place in that valley area, and they left and they went south to Egypt, and that's where the original admixture began to show up. I said when they talk about Saharan and sub-Saharan African traits, that's actually what they're referring to, because the Arabic people, as we know, came from the Arabian Peninsula. So we know for an absolute fact that their people originated just outside of the, the continental Africa. So let's say if you trace all these stories back, just read. Like you have to read more than one book. When people get stuck on these one book translations, there's just no way you can possibly understand all of world culture, this in one book that was translated to intentionally manipulate the populace of Rome because they were doing some things they shouldn't have been doing. And, saying he had to come up with a way to try to get these people to change their hearts and minds. So go beyond the Greek translations, go back into some of the Aramaic, in the Hebrew tongues, the Yiddish, and you're going to start seeing some big differences in the way the text reads. So let's say the further you go back, the more you're going to start to uncover about, how these people actually migrated from different points to different regions. So when people say, oh, they stole stuff from Egypt, they lived in Egypt. So it's kind of only natural that they're going to adapt to some of those stories. And at the same time, you can also find cultural similarities with the Egyptian deities and the Sumerian deities. Isis and Ishtar have virtually the same representation and a very similar story. It's not the same when it comes to the rest of the gods, but there are a lot of similarities when it comes to their culture, and you can actually see where those changes took place when those people left their flooded area and moved down into the now Delta region. Oh, Sister Mickey, you got your mic on mute again. Don't tell me you've been talking to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm over here like, yeah. I just want to bring up the petrified giants. They have this. I'm just gonna make it big. They have this petrified elephant here. Then you have this petrified thing there. These could very well be statues, but then you have this petrified fried thing here, and then this looks like a face, but that's touch and go. You go another petrified. Not sure how good that picture is worth.
And I'm always sketchy when it comes to stuff like that.
Mm,
Because like I say, at the same time, um, we have fossils of dinosaurs, and they span back, possibly when it comes to testing, possibly billions, and billions of years.
mm,
So when I hear stories about giants, I feel like that, at some point, if you talk about humans, that we should at least find
mm,
a similar structure, a
mm,
similar bone structure amongst these animals. I mean, amongst
mm.
these giants or fossilized, I'm saying skeletons and stuff like that. Um,
What is because like when they cut some of these petrified rocks or whatever, um, they find like a pattern. You know what I'm saying? Like a pattern that would be like for a muscle cell, or they see the cells inside the when they cut it open, and then they see blood and all that stuff. It's definitely a lot of evidence out there for it.
I'm always sketchy when it comes to stuff like that. I love going down the rabbit hole on YouTube, but
Mm,
I make sure to pull myself back out when it's all said and done.
mm,
Because you see some strange or weird stuff on there that'll have you wondering, and you never really know.
mm.
But I
No,
said I'm one of those type of people, that likes to verify stuff.
right. Yeah, you gotta definitely verify.
So if someone finds it, I think it would absolutely be fascinating. That there was actually a giant humanoid creature, or human. I'm saying at some point, but when it comes to some of the scaling that they do, like some of those images, like they're actually bigger than dinosaurs and stuff like that.
Mm,
So it's kind of hard to believe that you can come up with something like that. So,
mm,
but it was something I wanted to talk about because I always like making fun of people when it comes to stuff like this. You actually know
mm.
that we actually have evidence of Bigfoot.
No.
All right, so I'm about to send you this, and it's actually pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this particular ape-like creature lived over in the around the Asian area,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, saying all the way up in there. And they actually believed that, it was a possibility that this creature ended up, taking the same land bridge that, Native Americans took when they came over from the Siberian and, Scandinavian region and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting because we actually have it on record, and we have it on we have its fossils.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, you sent it to me.
I'm sending it to you now, and so it's called Giant Apopithecus.
Giant ape Epithecus.
Yeah,
Okay.
Giant Apopithecus, and it's actually when it comes to the measurements of the fossils around the same reported stuff as Bigfoot. It was about 9 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it actually, real real creature. We have it on fossil record, found his bones and everything. And I said, as you see, it's pretty much looks like a giant orangutan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do they have a actual picture of it, or it's just a theory? Oh, here
No,
go one.
I'm
Is this a
let me
real one
see.
right here? Like I don't see an ape being that dang on still next to a human, but okay.
No. This is not a current modern, saying picture. These some of the fossils of giant Apithecus. This is not like, say like, oh, Bigfoot, they found Bigfoot alive. But when it comes to some of the reported sightings, it matches this creature here. I said it's about 8 feet tall. Of course, it's upright, I'm saying, ape, bipedal.
Cause you sent me this and I don't know where to go to. Where you want me to go to? This is a Google search, so.
Oh, sorry. There's a National Geographic link on there. And they actually, give you the, story about where they ended up finding it at. Oh, get out of my face.
I mean, I could agree to this because we got human beings that are I don't know what is this doing.
Oh, this thing is just, I'm trying doing the same thing because it just popped up all in my face and just ruined my feed.
Okay, I can't. I'm not gonna enter my email on that.
Yeah,
Then I'm
I
gonna
guess.
go into emails.
But
Okay.
here's another one here I'm about to send you. It's actually from the Smithsonian. There are a couple of more links too. But it's actually very fascinating that we managed to find, actual, representation in the fossil record for, what could be, Bigfoot, because this is what people, saying report seeing, a giant hairy creature that's about 9 to 10 feet tall, and it has these features. And of course, one of the things that people always say when they're looking out at it, the eyes turn colors, right? That it has red eyes. Well, there are a lot of animals have focal receptors that end up changing colors when the light hits it, like green and red and stuff like that.
Did you send what it is that you was gonna send?
Yes, this one was actually a Smithsonian link from the Smithsonian magazine.
Okay, so it's just keep giving me Google. So I'm gonna just share it like I see it then.
Okay, hold on. I thought it could be weird sometimes when you try to share this stuff.
Mm.
Okay, that should be the direct link to the Smithsonian page.
Okay, well. Scientists now know where the largest ape to ever exist sits in primate family tree. Proteins from a 1.9 million year old molar show that the 10-foot tall what do you, how you pronounce it? Paticus is a
Giant
distant
Apithecus.
Gigantopithecus is a distant relative to modern orangutans. Western scientists first learned about extinct giant ape species, Gigantopithecus, uh, Blackie, the largest primate to ever exist, in 1935 when an anthropologist came across some of its massive molars in Chinese drugstores, selling them as dragon teeth. Since then, researchers have identified thousands of teeth and a few partial bones from the creature. With these pieces in hand, they've tried to fit the Bigfoot like ape into the primate family tree. Without any usable DNA, however, the task has been difficult. Now, using proteins in dental enamel, researchers report they finally found how the Gigantopithecus fits into the great ape puzzle, according to a new study published in journal Nature. According to the press release, DNA has been key in helping scientists map out a massive relationship between primates and hominids that lived within the past 50,000 years. But in fossils, Older than that, DNA is very difficult to extract, and scientists have only done it successfully in a few cases, included in one 400,000-year-old hominin species. This is different. Gigantopithecus remains are estimated to be between 300,000 to 2 million years old, placing its reign at some point during a ple- Palestine epoch. I don't even know. And I'm going to start reading because when they start having words like that, then I got to go. But anyways, I see. Okay, so there's some science behind it, but it still have yet to be proven because of difficulty of extracting DNA from such old. So I would think that this particular DNA is either fossilized or petrified.
Yes, like after a certain period, you just can't, extract any DNA because what fossilization actually does is um, you the bone absorbs the surrounding sediment.
Mm,
So that's why they can test to see how old it is because you said they can test the materials that it absorbed,
mm,
and so they can find out, saying around what time the fossilization process, saying took place.
mm,
So that's how they estimate the age of fossilized bones when it comes to stuff like that. They can test the material that the bone absorbed because once it gets to that fossilized point and it petrifies,
mm,
then the original organic material is gone. So the only
mm,
thing that's actually left is the material that calcified and saying turned into that fossilized structure.
mm-hmm. And what is this done by carbon dating?
They actually have different three different methods when it comes to testing fossils.
Mm,
Um, when it comes to carbon 14, they do that test on the actual sediment and material. It gives them a baseline reading of the carbon based material. So that gives them an estimate of when the fossilization process started.
mm,
And so then they go take it a step further. They test for two different types of isotopes, which is plutonium. No, hold on. I want to say it's uranium or something like that. But they test for two other types of isotopes, which has a longer half life decay process.
mm-hmm.
So that's what gives, saying when we started using carbon dating to try to test everything, we started to realize that it can only take us so far.
Mm-hmm.
So we started testing for other isotopes like uranium and stuff like that, which is also, saying found in the sediment. And so that's what gives them a better indicator of how long that, how old that fossil actually is.
All righty. I wanna just shout out Classic Craig for joining us. What's up, Classic?
Just slaving away, slaving away. So what we
Doing
got
work.
here? So we got the one and only Everett, right? On the whole effing show, correct?
Michael Everett.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't.
He's a part of the heavy hitters. If y'all don't know, check out the heavy hitters on YouTube. Shout out to Dun and God, Ifa, and the whole fucking show, Paradigm Shift. Um, yeah, so Classic Craig, did you get the chance to chime in? Did you want to chime in or what?
I want to ask Everett this right quick. Everett, you came from the final battle, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember me at all, right? I used to be with Tariq. I used to be one of his admins, well, his moderators. They all used to hate me back in the day. They said I was the most top Hebrew troll back in the day.
Oh, bro, I'm not a Hebrew Israelite, so
Nah, I'm
uh,
talking. I'm talking about me. You know what I'm saying?
now I haven't I actually kind of, been shying away from his group because the material done got real lowbrow. Your boy Kofi, he he's a little outrageous, which is kind of a funny story.
You talk about a friend of mine. I know Kofi very well.
Yeah. So
Uh,
he doesn't even realize that he actually has me blocked. So
Kofi,
when I be
Kofi.
when I be making sharing posts and stuff in the group, he doesn't even see me in the group. And whenever I switch over to my alternate profile, I end up getting a chance to troll him every now and then. One of my favorite stories from him was he shared a video. It was a hurricane that took place over in Ireland, and he thought it was a sign of the apocalypse. It was back in 2017. Here it is 2023. But he got mad at me because I was trolling him about that. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, man.
Well, I'm not talking about that final battle because in that final battle, Kofi's a admin, a moderator, so he knows all the
Mm-hmm.
blocking. And shout out to Kofi. I know you're stalking, but I'm talking about the old one, the one that Tyreek Cornelius had. That's
Yeah.
where someone remember you from. I used to troll around in that group against everybody that was Kemetic or Muslim, and I
Yeah.
used
So
to hate
you,
me
you
back in the
probably
day.
you probably remember the chick that used to be a part of that, used to call herself the Hebrew killer.
Oh, yeah, you talking about Vonnie? No, no, not Vonnie. You're talking about Sister Liberty. I know who you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? But back then, all of them pretty much was using extreme pseudo information. Um, the real battle was over in Facts Over Fairy Tales with Ratchet Craig. But over there in the final battle, a lot of those individuals, they were somewhat mystics. So it was kind of easy to dance around them at the end of the day. But um, one thing I will say though, Kofi is he's one of the people I did reach out to once we Ratchet and me started the YouTube videos and stuff like that. Um, he I think he's gonna have an interview soon. He gotta let me know when he's available and stuff like that. The guy's very busy, but nah, he was a part of the old final battle until he transferred over to the new one. You know, because right now, I heard of his little battles with Milton and God. And I heard Milton and God wanted to call him out first. You know what I'm
It
saying?
sounds like a versus is coming on. Is it gonna be a versus?
Hey,
I'm gonna see what they want, but uh,
tell him he got to
so
unblock me. Like I can't communicate with him because I'm rarely on my alternate profile. So like he at
What
some
you
point he
said?
going
Wait a minute. What you said to him to make you block him?
he got mad because I was trolling him about the post he made about the hurricane. That it was pretty much, it was his first time ever experiencing a hurricane. He lives over in Ireland, and it was like one of rare cases for a hurricane to actually blow back towards the inland because it usually blows outward over the ocean. So it was like a rare occasion for him, and he kind of went overboard on that when he got mad that I trolled him about it.
he doesn't live in Ireland, bro. He doesn't live in Ireland. I know where he lives. Um,
Where is he stay? Because he used to
Not
tell me that
Ireland.
he used to tell me that he was like over in Ireland.
No, Kofi likes to play with people that play with him. That's what he does. Uh, but one thing I will do, I will have him on. You know what I'm saying? Once the time gets, when it's right, he can come through. You know what I'm saying? When he feels like he needs to come through. He watched he watched all 5 hours of Heru's interview. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing he did tell me, and he said he's coming. He said if Heru makes that first declaration, he said he'll be ready. I said, wow, but
Okay,
I just have to say
hey,
though,
I'll be tuning in for that one because he definitely make things interesting.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Of course he does. He's a hell of a poet too. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
once
well, I want to wind it down because we at the 3 hour mark, and I just want to get some final thoughts. We got a verses coming up, and we're gonna see if we can get what's his name again? Kiru? What's his name?
Hiru, a
Hiru.
melanin god. Yeah.
Oh, I'm tripping. I know who Hiru is. I thought you said somebody else. Craig.
Yeah. His name is Prince Yakanan, but
Mm.
his shorter name is Kofi.
Kofi. That's the one I'm thinking about. So it's gonna be a verse between Kofi and Hiru.
Heru. Yeah,
Hiru.
I'm gonna see if that can. They do have a rivalry. They've been at it for years. Moshe, shout out to Moshe also. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
uh, Kofi is a very interesting individual. You'll like him, Meika. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But we are reaching the 3 hour mark.
Right. So any final
Hey,
thoughts, Mike?
Really, I just want to try to express how important it is for people to understand that it's not impossible to read, to translate or read into these ancient texts, because the translation has already been done. It's right there for you. Get on your phone, whether you have a Android or iPhone, go to the App Store, try to download these translative scripts. Just dig down into the study, because the text that we have today is not the text that they used back then. And so, like I was talking about some of the esoteric stuff, they like to use that word a lot. So once you get to the point where you yourself can actually translate and read into these ancient scripts, you're not going to feel like you're left out anymore. Because that's what a lot of times they like to throw around. The esoteric means that really just means that they've gone back and they've actually studied, done a deep dive into this study, and was able to translate and understand the message they were trying to convey 6,000-7,000 years ago to us today.
Mm.
So I said, really get into this study. It's not hard at all. It's not. Like I said, the sources are there. You could try. Like now with Google search, they have this new addition to it, to where you probably noticed it. Whenever you go through a search, you can see the little AI generator up top. You can click that button and it will pull up a very good summary of what you just searched for. And it will pull up some of the best resources pertaining to that search. So you won't have to, scroll down, through the entire page and, try to find all these different links. They're going to try to give you the direct reference points to whatever you just research. I mean, whatever you just put in the search tab. And, it's not hard at all. Don't sell yourself short. Get into it, start studying, learn more than what you knew yesterday.
Mm-hmm. That's what's up. That's what's up. I also agree 100%. You guys got to look into linguistics, and I want to thank you, Mike, for coming in. And we might have to do a part 2 on this one, because there's so many things to get in. I want to thank you, Classic, for chiming in and whatnot, and letting us know what it do. And this is Meika Wash. This is Mouth Off with Meika. Hold on. This is Meika Wash. Do I get a let me do my solo. This is Meika Wash, and this is Mouth Off with Meika. And we are out. Show who you are. Good riddance. Is you kidding? Bid the forbidden. As it was written, you overbid it. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, unforgiven. Cast the pearls on hog, moms and chitlin'. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good, good looking, stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, spades I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era up, a glance in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind, I'm chosen. Reverse the time, heart frozen. Antarctica, cold as ice, casting lots, rolling dice, mean as nails. I'm nothing nice. They persecuted me like they rejected Christ.